Part 82. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 811. Chapter 811 I'll be back, wait for me. Xia Ying was originally thinking of a strategy to deal with it. Inexplicably, the more she scrolled through Weibo, the happier she became. She was completely impressed by the imagination of netizens. She suddenly didn't want to explain what was going on, ha ha ha. However, thinking that Jianyin still had to eat, Xia Ying still posted an explanation on Weibo. Everyone, please stop making blind guesses. Jianyin's, Chu Shenxiu, and Jun Chenai, the three of them have nothing to do with each other. When I posted that picture, I didn't know that Jianyin's was live broadcasting. I just posted it to make fun of him. I didn't expect that it would cause such a drama. CP fans, please go away, the three of them are just good friends. As soon as Xia Ying posted her Weibo post, people began to cry out. Are they really just friends? Then when will our young Master Jun come back? Same as above, when will Mr. Jun come back? I miss him so much. Will I really only be able to find Mr. Jun's name in other people's songs in the future? Don't any fans of Jun Chenai click B? Something like that happened to Jun Chenai. The news said that he was disfigured and had big scars on his body. How could he return to the entertainment industry if he was like this? It's better to retire when I'm at my peak and leave some good memories for everyone. That Jun Chenai, wasn't it just his face that made him famous before? Now that his face is ruined, how can he come out? What are you doing out here? Is it scary to come out? The anti-fans are enough. We like Mr. Jun but not for his looks. He is obviously so talented. Such an accident happened just to save people. Such a good Mr. Jun has been hacked. Please explode on the spot, keyboard warrior. Okay. Keyboard warriors have the ability to fight under real names. I am afraid that the level of songs written by Mr. Jun is something that mentally retarded people like you will never be able to understand. How popular is it to be number one in the rankings in several countries? Originally, the comment section was still discussing the scandals between Jun Chenai and the others. Inexplicably, it was suddenly brought to Jun Chenai's rhythm. Because Xia Ying and Jun Chenai have a good relationship, his fans came to ask Xia Ying when Jun Chenai would return. There are true fans and there are also negative fans. Just like that, the comments on Xia Ying's Weibo exploded. Jun Chenai was also looking at Xia Ying's Weibo and saw the defense of his fans, and suddenly felt very uncomfortable. Since the last accident, Jun Chenai has not posted on Weibo, and Weibo has almost grown weedy. Jun Chenai's studio has not said whether he will quit or when he will return. There is also silence without any news. Jun Chenai sees everyone wearing a mask now, and his left cheek is covered in scars. Sometimes he feels sad just looking at it. Jun Chenai has never been proud of his face, even though he has always been praised for his beauty growing up, and he has always known that he is good looking. But because I've been used to seeing it since I was a child, I don't think my face is that extraordinary. But now that he had lost it, looking at the original photo of himself and comparing it to the large scar in the mirror, Jun Chenai felt regretful and felt that he had really lost something. For those in the entertainment industry, your face is your facade. Many people say they don't care about his looks, but they love his talent. But when he really appears with this frightening face, how many people will remember liking him as much as they did in the first place? Jun Chenai retweeted Xia Ying's Weibo and added, I'll be back, wait for me. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 812. Chapter 812 He is the light of the entertainment industry. Jun Chenai posted another post on Weibo after many days, and it immediately became the top trending topic and stayed there for a long time. As soon as Jun Chenai posted on Weibo, all the fans gathered in the comment area as quickly as possible. All of Jun Chenai's chocolates have two words written on them, waiting for you. When June Chennai was lying in bed and looking at that Weibo post again at night, it had more than 100 million retweets, more than 70 million comments, and nearly 200 million likes, and it was still growing at a crazy speed. In less than 10 hours, June Chennai used his strength to tell everyone in the entertainment industry that he, June Chennai, was the light of the entertainment industry. As long as he is around, no one is worth mentioning. Chen Yin's jaw dropped when he saw June Chennai's data. His Weibo with the most likes was only over 30 million, while June Chennai's Weibo broke the record in a short period of time. Two miraculous figures in the Chinese entertainment industry, one is Mr. R and the other is June Chennai. The status of these two people is unshakable. The crew of The Great Doctor, which has been suspended for a long time, saw this Weibo post by June Chennai and regained hope. June Chennai was the most popular in the previous voting for the role of male protagonist, and now it seems that it has become June Chennai's designated role. No one can take it, and he will be criticized if he takes it. I originally thought that this movie would just end like this. I didn't expect that there is hope now. As long as June Chennai returns to the entertainment industry, the filming of this movie can begin. The students of Imperial University are about to take the final exam. After Muni Ankai took the last exam, she packed her things and walked to the entrance of the examination room when she suddenly saw a familiar figure standing at the door. The young man was tall, with upright and strong features. He had clean and short hair, one hand was in his trouser pocket, and the other hand scratched the back of his head nervously. Muni Ankai met Hansaja's gaze, and her expression immediately became panicked. But fortunately, Muni Ankai pretended to be calm, so Hansaja didn't notice any clues. Muni Ankai walked up to Hansaja. Hansaja stood up straight, leaned over and looked at Muni Ankai in front of him, pursed his lips, and said with an indifferent expression, "I heard from Xia Ying, you come to see me if you have something to do." I just heard that you have a game in the afternoon, Muni Ankai suddenly started hesitating. She had just finished taking the exam, and before she could figure out how to organize her language for the meeting, Hansaja had already come over. She didn't know what reason to use for the moment. Yes, what can she do with him? According to Hansaja's previous understanding of her, there was no time when the two of them met without quarreling and bickering. So Hansaja was a little surprised when he heard the news from Xia Ying. There is a competition, just for fun with the people from the school next door. Hansaja said, frowned, and whispered, "You don't want to watch our competition, right?" Yes, I like watching football matches." Muni Ankai simply walked down the steps, suppressed the expression on her face, and replied. Hansaja sneered, "How come I didn't know you were someone who likes watching football games?" "I like it, otherwise why would I go there to watch that game?" "I thought you were going to see Duzi." Muni Ankai's face turned dark immediately when she heard the name Duzi. Thinking of that person's name made her feel sick. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 813. Chapter 813. Are Hansaja and Muni Ankai together? Hansaja noticed the sudden change in Muni Ankai's expression, so he immediately changed the topic. "Oh, what about that? If you want to see it, just come and see it with me later." Hansaja acted nonchalant, but his heartbeat accelerated. "I don't know what's wrong with me, but every time I see this girl, I feel inexplicably confused. Obviously this girl has a bad temper and is unreasonable. She always quarrels with herself, and she always looks down on others. She has such an unpleasant personality, but she still falls in love with someone like her. Is he sick?" "And he was very ill." Muni Ankai nodded nervously. "Damn it, What kind of mood is this? Why did she feel that the atmosphere was a little subtle, and why was her heart numb all the time? Wasn't it just watching a football match? Why did she have so many thoughts in her mind? Her head was about to explode. Then let's go have a meal together after dinner, we will go to the competition venue. Hansaja mentioned it intentionally or unintentionally, not expecting that Muniankai would agree. After all, with her proud personality, how could she really go to dinner with him? She always felt that she was an unbearable scumbag. Good. Hansaja was stunned for a long time when he heard the clear word good. After confirming that Muniankai was following him step by step and was really planning to go to dinner with him, Hansaja realized that she was real. Said the word good. Hansaja's heart suddenly bloomed with a delicate flower. After arriving at the restaurant, Hansaja and Muniankai sat down and looked at the menu in silence, neither talking to the other. Hansaja was thinking about what she should say, and Muniankai was thinking about why she felt weird. Why was she sitting with Hansaja to eat together? She obviously hates this person so much. Muniankai raised her head and pretended to glance at Hansaja across from him unintentionally. The way he calmed down, he could be so well behaved and good looking. He was completely different from the usual careless person. At this time, Muniankai heard some unpleasant and harsh comments in her ears. Hey, look, isn't that Hansaja, is the girl opposite him his new girlfriend? Hey, that girl looks familiar, Muniankai, yes, isn't that Muniankai? Oh my god, are Muniankai and Hansaja together? Has Hansaja changed his girlfriend again so soon? Muniankai's face was filled with black lines when she heard this, and she kicked Hansaja under the table. Hansaja hissed in pain and raised his eyes to meet Muniankai's gaze. What are you doing? I'll have to play football with my feet later. Muniankai glared at him and gritted her teeth and said, Hansaja, it's all your fault. What a good thing you did. Now I've been misunderstood by them. Hansaja shrugged angrily, they guessed it themselves. I didn't say anything or do anything. Muniankai rolled her eyes at Hansaja, if you hadn't accumulated too many romantic debts, would they have said that? Hansaja, you are a nuisance. Hansaja spread his hands helplessly and smiled, it's okay. They say what they say, so just ignore it. Wow, Hansaja smiled so lovingly at Muniankai just now. Yes, it looks like we are really together. I just don't know how long this pairing will last. Hansaja is famous for being a playboy. Muniankai. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuen Suya. Chapter 814. Chapter 814 Are you still jealous? Hansaja coughed twice in embarrassment, covered his mouth with his fist, and said in a low voice, what about that? Let's order. Muniankai didn't answer anymore, but gave Hansaja a big roll of his eyes. After the food was served, Muniankai did not talk to Hansaja anymore. Instead, she lowered her head and ate the food in front of her silently. Hansaja looked up at Muniankai from time to time, watching her eating with her eyes lowered, as quiet as a painting. I have to say that this girl would be quite a lady if she was quiet. Just don't speak. Hansaja noticed that Muniankai didn't seem to be able to eat spicy food. On the contrary, Hansaja liked spicy food very much. He ordered several plates of spicy dishes, but Muniankai never stretched out his chopsticks. Hansaja was used to eating very quickly, so he finished his meal not long after, and then lay on his back on the sofa, playing with his phone while looking up at Muniankai in front of him. At this time, Hansaja's cell phone rang. Hansaja looked down and saw that it was a teammate from the football team calling, presumably urging him to play the game. Hansaja looked at the time and saw that he was not in a hurry yet, so he did not rush Muniankai, but continued playing with his phone as if nothing had happened. Then, the phone rang again, but Hansaja still hung up. Muniankai was a little surprised, raised her head and looked at Hansaja. What's wrong? Why don't you answer the phone? Nothing. Hansaja simply put his phone on silent mode. You can eat your food. Muniankai just frowned and wondered for a while, without thinking deeply, and then started eating with her head down. After eating, Hansaja took a taxi directly because he was afraid of being late. Muniankai was still reminiscing about the smell of that restaurant on the way. She wasn't actually very hungry, but the food in that restaurant just now was so delicious that she couldn't stop eating. Hansaja, do you often take girls to that restaurant to eat? Hansaja sneered and looked at Muniankai with a wicked smile. What's wrong, are you still jealous? Muniankai's face darkened. You must be sick. Hansaja smiled but said nothing. After a while, Hansaja answered the question slowly and leisurely. I know a lot of delicious restaurants. My brothers and I usually go there when we have nothing to do, so if you can't find a place to eat in the future, you can just call. Hansaja was stunned for a moment when he said this, and suddenly remembered that last time Muniankai got angry and blacklisted him. This girl just acts so resolutely without thinking about the consequences. Hey, are you sure you don't want to take me off the blacklist? Hansaja turned his face sideways. Although his tone was playful, his eyes were full of sincerity. Muniankai turned away and looked at Hansaja. She originally wanted to ridicule him as usual, but inexplicably, looking into Hansaja's eyes, she suppressed the unpleasant words in her mouth. At this moment, Muniankai suddenly remembered Xia Ying's words. Hansaja likes you, he has been following you just now, he was not just passing by. Do you really not like Hansaja? Muniankai felt like she was a little over the top. Okay, why can't I stop thinking about these things? Talk later. Muniankai curled her lips, avoided Hansaja's gaze, and turned her head away from looking at him. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 815. Chapter 815. It was the first time I found him so dazzling. Well, let's see when Miss Mew is in a good mood. I'll be waiting. Hansaja curled his lips, smiled wickedly, and leaned back. Muniankai didn't say anything after that. She felt like her head was in a mess, like a paste. When they arrived at the competition venue, when Hansaja led Muniankai to appear, Hansaja's team members breathed a sigh of relief, looked at Hansaja angrily and said to him, Captain, if you don't show up again, we are going to surrender directly. Hansaja smiled while taking out clothes from his skull bag. Surrender? That's all you have to do to make a living? I just ate a little late. Captain, you really have a good attitude. The boy said, looking at Muniankai beside Hansaja, frowning, feeling familiar. After thinking about it, he remembered that it was the girl who brought water to Duzi that day. It's strange, although their captain may be a carefree person, when it comes to dealing with girls and competition issues, he has always been the number one in the competition. Why did he almost miss the competition time this time just to accompany a girl to dinner? Muniankai on the side saw the meaningful gaze cast by team member Hansaja, and suddenly remembered the unanswered phone calls that Hansaja had just made when they were having dinner with her. This guy also told her nothing happened. The team members were all sweating profusely. Silly boy, our team is so good we can do it without me. Don't belittle yourself. If one day I am really late, you can still beat me. Hansaja said, patted the man on the shoulder, smiled brightly, and then quickly ran to the changing room with his own clothes. The team member looked at Muniankai with suspicion, and asked out of gossip and curiosity, are you our captain's new girlfriend? Muniankai tugged at the corners of her lips and sneered. This Hansaja had such a rich love history that it gave people the impression that as long as there was a woman standing next to him, she would most likely be his girlfriend. No, I just came over to watch your game. After Muniankai finished speaking, she turned around and went to the audience area without further explanation. The team member still stood where he was, doubting the authenticity of Muni Ankai's words. Not long after, the game started, and it was the first time Muni Ankai watched Hanzija play so seriously. Although she rarely watched football games, after all, she only watched them for looks, but she was still impressed by Hanzija on the court. This is not the first time she has watched Hanzija play, but why does she realize now that Hanzija is so dazzling and shining on the court? When she watched Duzi and Hanzija play football before, she didn't notice Hanzija's charm. It wasn't until she saw the sky that Muni Ankai realized how dazzling the big boy was. Muni Ankai was surrounded by a circle of fangirls calling Hanzija's name. This is a foreign school, but even if it is a foreign school, Hanzija is still very popular. The entire Imperial University knows that Hanzija from Imperial University is very good at football. It is said that he was offered an olive branch by the national team. It is said that he will go to the national football team in the future. Muni Ankai looked at the court, but her eyes were entirely on Hanzija. Muni Ankai sat quietly where she could hear the girls around her discussing all the news about Hanzija that she didn't know. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuen Suya. Chapter 816. Chapter 816. Are you going to get back together with your ex-girlfriend? Hanzija is so handsome. He is called the number one foot in the imperial capital for nothing. Although he is very carefree, why can't I dislike him for some reason? He is so handsome, my God. Everyone who plays football is too carefree, messy, Niemer, let me understand. If I were a boy, and I looked like Hanzija and could play football so well, I would be too carefree. Woo woo woo, I really want to be Hanzija's girlfriend, even for a day. Don't think about it. Which of his girlfriends is not fair-skinned, beautiful, and long-legged, just think about it. Muni Ankai's face became darker and darker as she listened to the loud discussions of the girls around her. These girls were really obsessed with Hanzija. At halftime, Hanzija's team led by more than 10 points. Although the game was fierce and the opponent was relatively strong, Hanzija seemed to be particularly energetic today. The players also praised Hanzija. Did you cheat today? Of course, their captain Han has always been very powerful. Hanzija smiled and said nothing. He glanced at Muni Ankai's position in the auditorium with his peripheral vision, then took the water handed to him by the logistics staff, raised his head and took a big gulp. Hanzija closed the bottle cap, then turned to look at Muni Ankai in the audience. Muni Ankai was stunned by Hanzija's sudden gaze. Hanzija showed his white teeth and smiled brightly. The sweat stained on the face and hair tips gleamed with luster. Ah, Hanzija smiled at me. That's nonsense, you're obviously just smiling at me, okay. Oh my God, he's so handsome. Oh my God, it's so when you smile. Muni Ankai held her forehead, a little helpless, and then reached out to block her ears to protect her eardrums from damage. Hanzija seemed to have thought of something, turned around and said something to the logistics staff, who then handed him a bottle of water. Hanzija held a bottle of water and walked towards Muni Ankai with a smile on his face. The auditorium exploded instantly. Oh my God, Hanzija is so handsome. Can you give me an autograph? I've liked you for a long time. Oh my God, Hanzija seems to be coming in our direction. Huh? No, Hanzija seems to be looking for his ex-girlfriend Murong Shui, huh? Really? Have they gotten back together? But Hanzija never seems to look back. Muni Ankai listened to the discussions around her and wondered why the name Murong Shui sounded so familiar. Then suddenly I remembered that this girl was the girl who competed with her last time for the honey fruit bingfen. Muni Ankai turned around and discovered that the so-called Murong Shui was sitting diagonally behind her. Murong Shui felt happy as she listened to the comments about her, and her face was also filled with unconcealable joy. Murong Shue's eyes were filled with starlight as she stared at Hanzija, who was getting closer and closer. Has Hanzija noticed her? Could it be that Hanzija regretted breaking up with her and wanted to keep him again? Thinking of this, Murong Shue had already begun to formulate pictures in her mind. Just when Murong Shue was ready for everything, she had even thought about what she was going to say later and how she would behave. Suddenly, Hanzija stood still in front of Mu Niankai, lowered his eyes and looked at Mu Niankai with a smile. That was the expression Murong Shue had never seen on Hanzija's face. He had never looked at her so tenderly. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 817. Chapter 817 Help you find someone to teach Mu Niankai a lesson. Hanzija placed the water bottle next to Mu Niankai and said casually, "If you are thirsty, just drink this." Hanzija knew that Mu Niankai hated him, so he didn't say much and just said something very ordinary without any emotion. "Thank you, thank you." Mu Niankai was stared at by so many people for a moment, and her eyes were a little averted. She mumbled a thank you and said nothing more. Oh my God, what's going on? She actually had a day where she was embarrassed and shy. Hanzija saw the 2 circles of blush on Mu Niankai's cheeks, raised the corners of his mouth slightly, showed an imperceptible smile, and then turned around and returned to the court. Not long after Hanzija left, things exploded around Mu Niankai. A group of girls came up to her and asked her questions. Little sister, what is your relationship with Hanzija? Why did he bring you water? Miss, are you Hanzija's new girlfriend? Young lady, you are very good looking, can you leave me your contact information? Can you get me an autograph, please, please? Mu Niankai had a dark face, bit her tongue, and said, "No, I'm not familiar with him, so don't make blind guesses." Liar, how could I not be familiar with you? The way Hanzija looked at you just now was so gentle. That's right, our young Master Han rarely does this. Is it Hanzija who is chasing you? I really want to be given water by handsome guy Han, I'm envious. No, Mu Niankai held her head helplessly, she could hardly bear it anymore. Why did Hanzija bring her water so well that all these girls got confused? At this time, Murong Shue behind Mu Niankai was so angry that she was about to smoke. She came all the way to watch Hanzija play football, but Hanzija didn't even look at her just now. He was really heartless, he broke up with her immediately without any attachment or sloppiness. Murong Shue looked at Mu Niankai's profile, and the more she looked at it, the more familiar it seemed. Then I suddenly remembered who she was. Wasn't she the girl who competed with her that day for honey and fruit, and was protected by Hanzija? That day, Murong Shue felt that something was wrong with Hanzija, and she was particularly nice to that girl. Now it seems that everything was premeditated, and she had secretly seduced Hanzija away from her. If it weren't for her, Hanzija wouldn't have broken up with her. Damn it! Murong Shue clenched her fists in anger. Sister Shue, don't be too angry. Even if this girl is really young Master Han's new love, according to young Master Han's temperament, she will definitely not be able to play with her for a few days. The little girl next to Murong Shue comforted her. That's right, Sister Shue, if you feel uncomfortable, we can find someone to help you beat her up. Murong Shue was startled after hearing this, and turned to look at the indignant little girl next to her in a daze. Can you really find someone to teach her a lesson? Of course, I know a lot of bad people. The girl looked quite complacent. She puffed up her chest and rolled her eyes at Mu Niankai. Then you scream now, preferably more, and teach the stinky woman a lesson. Good. After the girl got the order, she immediately started posting messages in the WeChat group. She secretly took a picture of Mu Niankai's profile, then posted it in the group, and added, "Who can help me teach this woman a lesson? 10,000 yuan. Remember to take good care of her. After 3 minutes of silence in the group, someone started to comment, who wants to hit her? End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 818. Chapter 818. You have a disaster. The girl didn't know why they asked who was going to teach Mu Niankai a lesson, but she still replied without thinking, Murong Shui. Oh, that Murong Shui. Someone replied. Yes, will you accept it? The girl then replied. Catch. Someone in the group responded, and it was a well-rounded older sister who responded. She rarely comes out, so when the girl saw her coming out, she was so frightened that she almost stopped holding her phone. He replied tremblingly, Sister Hong is coming out too. Sister Hong is the eldest sister in the WeChat group. Every time she comes out, there must be a lot of people following her. Sure enough, not long after, Sister Hong directly said, I will bring a few girls who can fight directly over here. Are you and that Murong Shui at the gym? Sister Hong looked at the photo that the girl sent. It should be somewhere in a gymnasium. There were many people around, and she could vaguely see the competition field below. Yes, Mu Niankai is still at the number 1 gymnasium of Wenhai University. Are you guys coming directly here later? But I'm afraid that she won't be alone later, but will leave with Hanzija. It's okay, we know what's going on. After Sister Hong replied the sentence, she stopped talking. However, Sister Hong had spoken, and the girl was now full of confidence and quickly told Murong Shui the good news beside her. After hearing this, Murong Shui raised the corners of her mouth and smiled crazily, I want that woman to know that there will be no good consequences for snatching something from me, Murong Shui. Right. Murong Shui's other little sister also echoed. At this moment, Mu Niankai's WeChat received a long list of chat screenshots. After Mu Niankai clicked on them and looked at them, she almost burst out laughing. Murong Shui wants to find someone to teach her a lesson? And the people she was looking for were all her subordinates, Mu Niankai. Haha, it's really interesting. She, Mu Niankai, started to meet gangsters in the 6th grade of elementary school. In the 3rd grade of junior high school, she became a famous eldest sister in the imperial capital. Her family was rich and powerful, and she was good at fighting. Mu Niankai was also very persuasive, and those people followed her to eat and drink. And received a lot of favors from her. If Mu Niankai hadn't become mature and stable now that she was in college and didn't want to mess around anymore, would someone like Murong Shui still be able to sit safely behind her? Putting aside Mu Niankai's previous violent temper, he slapped Mu Niankai so hard that she couldn't find him. It's very good. Let's find her little sister to come over and beat her. Then Murong Shui was ready to feel the care from her little sister. Mu Niankai thought so, turned around suddenly, and smiled meaningfully at Murong Shui. Murong Shui was so frightened by Mu Niankai's sinister smile that her body suddenly became colder. The sullen smile on her face also disappeared. What are you looking at? Although Murong Shui was a little trembling in her heart, she still said that she would not spare anyone. I see that your face is dark, your face is bloodless, your expression is dull, your eyes are dull, your body is weak, and your heart is vicious. I'm afraid it's a sign of something serious. Be careful when you go out today, as there may be a disaster. Mu Niankai shook her head and said. Murong Shui snorted disdainfully, it's not certain who will suffer a disaster. If you dare to curse me, just watch, God will not let you go. Murong Shui hummed proudly, but Mu Niankai laughed at her for being ignorant and fearless. That's right, our sister Shui is very lucky. What are you talking about? Some people really should be careful. Murong Shui's 2 younger sisters also jumped out to defend her. Mu Niankai turned around and ignored them again. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuen Suya. Chapter 819. Chapter 819 Shooting Yourself in the Foot. At the end of the game, Hanzaja and his team won again. There is a saying in their football circles that as long as Hanzaja participates in a game, he will never lose. Because Hanzaja has never lost in a regular competition so far, he can be said to be a victorious general. Hanzaja walked up to Muniankai while the team members were cheering and celebrating. "Hey, Muniankai, are you okay? They are going to the celebration banquet, do you want to come with us?" Hanzaja said, as if thinking of something else. He added, "We are going this time. That restaurant is much more delicious than the one just now." Murong Shui could hear clearly from behind. Damn it, she knew that Muniankai had already started hooking up with Hanzaja. She knew that there was a reason why Hanzaja broke up with her inexplicably, and it was because of this hateful woman. Hanzaja actually invited her to the celebration banquet. When she was his girlfriend, no matter how hard he begged, Hanzaja had never brought her to the celebration banquet of their football team, nor had any time with their football team. People had dinner together. But Muniankai was treated like this. The more Murong Shui thought about it, the angrier and jealouser she became. "You send me the address. I have something to do later. I'll go there later," Muniankai said. Hanzaja frowned. "What's going on? Do you want me to accompany you?" Hanzaja said the last sentence without thinking. After saying it, even he felt that the sentence was too ambiguous. Why he should accompany her is none of his business. Muniankai was also surprised for a moment, but fortunately she quickly softened her expression and said, "No, it will be soon. You can join your team members." "Oh well." Hanzaja didn't say anything more, and with the repeated urging from his team members behind him, he had no choice but to turn around and leave with them. Muniankai knew that Murong Shui's plan was to make her alone, so she would satisfy her wish first. Of course, if she stayed, the so-called thing was just watching her shoot herself in the foot. She, Muniankai, just likes to see this kind of slap in the face, and she feels very excited when she thinks about it. Muniankai was walking alone on the road, thinking with a malicious smile on her lips. Murong Shui and her two little sisters have been following Muniankai. Why haven't they come yet? Murong Shui was a little anxious. Muniankai now walked into a small alley. This was the best time to take action. And there were no cameras or anything nearby. It was just the right time and the right place, as if it was just a path to get beaten. Murong Shui is funny just thinking about it. It should be on the way, Sister Shui, don't worry, these people are very trustworthy. Humph, I can't wait to see Muniankai being. Before Murong Shui finished speaking, a large group of people suddenly appeared behind her, and Murong Shui's quilt was covered with a snakeskin bag. The other two girls turned around quickly when they saw this, but they didn't see anything clearly, and they were also covered with snakeskin bags. Bag. The next second, they were dragged into the corner and a rain of punches and kicks fell on them. They were howling in pain, looking as embarrassed as they could be. "Okay, that's it. If you keep hitting me, your hands will hurt." Murong Shui and the others listened to Muniankai's voice through the snakeskin bag, and were so surprised that they didn't know what to say. What happens? They were obviously the ones who came to teach Muniankai a lesson, so why were they the ones who were beaten? End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuen Suya. Chapter 820. Chapter 820 Captain, is this true? The snakeskin bags on Murong Shui's and the others' heads were removed. Murong Shui and the others looked at Muniankai standing in front of them in shock, with pride and ridicule on their faces. And the so-called eldest sister in their eyes, Sister De Hong, actually talked to Muniankai in a condescending manner, just like a little follower, without any of her usual arrogance and domineering attitude. Sister Niankai, are you going to let these women who overestimate their capabilities just like this? Sister Hong was angry, clenching her hands into fists, her joints creaking, and she glared at those people with gritted teeth. She wanted to rush over and give them a few more kicks now. Mu Niankai had deliberately led them to this alley just now. Mu Niankai had been in contact with them the whole time, and they had lurked here early, waiting for these stupid fish to take the bait. I'm afraid people outside the alley will hear if I keep beating them. These women usually speak softly, but I didn't expect them to scream like slaughtering pigs, Mu Niankai mocked, laughing wildly. Murong Shue's face had turned completely dark, and Mu Niankai actually called her a dead pig. This woman is really arrogant, but how on earth did she meet these little girls? Murong Shue turned around and stared at the girl who just called someone to beat Mu Niankai, saying in her eyes, "Look at the stupid thing you did. Who is hitting whom? Why were you so stupid as to call the group of people who knew Mu Niankai? Now I'm fine, I was beaten for no reason, and I guess I've become enemies with this group of people since then. If I meet them again in the future, I might still attack them." Murong Shue started to tremble just thinking about it. I asked you how itchy your bones must be to ask people to beat Sister Niankai in the imperial capital. When Sister Niankai comes out to fool around, are you still watching Pleasant Goat and Big Wolf at home? Sister Hong mocked, her face full of disdain mixed with anger. Murong Shue didn't say a word the whole time. She had seen those gangster movies, and she knew she couldn't hold her tongue at this time. No matter how aggrieved she felt or if she wanted to explain, she couldn't speak, otherwise she would be beaten again. At this time, Mu Niankai's cell phone rang. It was Hanzige's call. Mu Niankai felt that it was not appropriate to answer the phone at this time, so she hung up the phone without answering. Hanzige saw that Mu Niankai didn't answer the phone, so he sent a text message, "Aren't you coming? Come, wait, right away." Mu Niankai replied to him. Hanzige felt relieved the moment she saw the text message. She thought she was being let go by Mu Niankai. He said he had something to deal with, but in fact he slipped away and never came back. Fortunately, she is just still dealing with things and will come back. "Captain, what are you doing standing around? Come over and have a drink." The team members started to call Hanzige to come over and have a drink to celebrate. Hanzige held a glass of wine in his hand and lazily turned around to look at them, pursed his lips and seemed determined. "No, I'm going out. Be right back." "Hey, Captain, where are you going?" "Be right back, very soon," Hanzige said as he walked out. I don't know why, maybe because of the alcohol, Hanzige suddenly wanted to find Mu Niankai at this moment, and wanted to bring her to his brothers and tell them that this was their future sister-in-law. Captain's situation is a bit erratic today. He was still very stable on the court. He was so good that he flew up. Why is it that he suddenly seems to have lost his soul again? Ha, I saw that the captain has been looking at the audience today, looking at the little girl he brought here. Yo, there's something going on. Is the captain really feeling his feelings? End of this chapter.